everyone. Welcome to my 5-part podcast series. This first episode, we're talking about the Don't Say Gay bill going on in Florida and how it's impacting both me and my guest, Miss Johnston, my old high school women's history teacher. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode. It'll be... Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first off, introduce yourself, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to turn that off because there was a glare. Okay, so I am Kim Johnston. I am a high school teacher at Chippewa Valley High School in Clinton Township. I teach social studies. I have an AP government class, a U.S. history, and a women's history elective. I live in Shelby Township. I'm married to my husband for, it'll be 12 years in a couple days, and we have 2 kids. Henry is 9, he just turned 9, and Sally is 5 and will be 6 in June.
Nice. So the Don't Say Gay bill.
Yeah. Don't say it.
It's very... So, when I first saw it on Twitter about this bill, I don't know, I was mad, angry.
Mm-hmm.
It made me think, like, that, I grew up in a Republican type of area. Like, my kindergarten class, you could tell, like, girls do this and boys do this, like, type thing, and
Right.
I never had the opportunity to be able to express my identity fully.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, and for there to be a bill to, like, to have it be, like, in law that students shouldn't have a safe space to be who they are, and, like, it frustrates me. Like, the quote, or the part of the bill that says, classroom instruction by school personnel or third-grade parties may not occur in kindergarten through 3rd grade in a manner that is not age appropriate for students. And it was for sexual orientation and for gender identity. Now, when you first heard that, how did you feel? Like, as a teacher, as a parent, because you have kids that are in that.
Yeah, I mean, right in that, right? I mean, Henry's in 3rd grade and Sally's in kindergarten. So, like, we're literally talking about, like, that exact, time. I think like my very first reaction is like how stupid, right? Like, almost laughable with how ridiculous it is. But I think the way that, like, things are now is that it's not just like some fringe lunatic who's like, don't say gay, and you're like, whatever, dude, like, that's never getting anywhere. You're like, oh, this is, like, gonna pass. Like, this is, like, in Florida, like, this is gonna pass. So I think that becomes more disturbing, that it's, like, then, like, viable. Like, if it's just one lunatic who's like, don't say gay, and you're like, okay, man, whatever, dude, like, you're just hanging on to, and then you're like, oh no, like, this is, like, gonna be a thing and it's gonna pass. That's when I feel like it becomes really disturbing, because I do still think that this is very much like a fringe thing. Like, I don't think that this is representative of the country. I don't think it's representative of, even in the area where I teach, which, Macomb County is, has been in the news, right, since 2016. like, I don't think that this is representative of the way that our country is, but that doesn't mean anything when you are someone who is targeted at this, like, of course I get the ability to say like, well, I don't think that's everybody, but like, I'm also not the group that's being targeted, right? So I think it's ridiculous. I think it's the Republican Party trying to latch on to something that they can make somebody the enemy and then have other people say like, yeah, look how crazy. I mean, it's also an assault on schools and teachers, which is just also, such an incredible target, for people. But it's stupid. It's stupid. It's not only is it, I mean, we'll get to like the damaging part of it, but it's also stupid because, the idea that a kindergarten teacher is talking about, I mean, anything beyond, some families look different, and some families have two moms and some families have two dads. Like, I think what people don't realize until you have kids, and I didn't, is how little information they actually need. Like, we have friends in our, in our family, in our lives who are gay. We have a friend of ours, right? Is my husband's from college. He comes over with Mr. Brownello every Sunday, and they watch Star Trek. Like, it's like their thing, and Henry watches it with him. Well, the other guy that comes, Brandon, their like literal lifelong friend, he's gay. He's in a committed relationship, like, with his partner. And I don't know, Henry said something once, and I don't know, he was younger, and he said something about two boys together or something, and he's like, that's weird. And we were like, why is that? Like, why do you think that that's weird? And he was like, I don't know, because he didn't, and we're like, Uncle Brandon, we're like, buddy, that's called gay. Like, Uncle Brandon's gay. Like, Uncle Brandon lives with Uncle Travis. And he's like, oh. And we're like, yeah. We're like, Uncle Brandon loves Uncle Travis the same way that me and Dad love each other. And literally, they're like, oh, okay. And Sally has a little friend, and her mom is single, and like Dad's like not in the pit. Like, it's a whole thing, which I don't want to talk about something else's life, but like, there's not a dad, and she's like, how come Evelyn doesn't have a dad? And it's like, well, just families look different. And she was like, oh, okay. Like, that's how much they need. Like, the idea that like, we're sitting down to be like, then this is how it works. Like, this is what this, like, it's so ridiculous. All they need is what they need, that families look different. You have a mom and a dad. Uncle Brandon lives with Uncle Travis. I have a friend and her husband, and they don't choose to have kids. So it's like, just these families, and that's all they need. So the idea that it's some sort of indoctrination is just too stupid to even like discuss. And the idea that there's some sort of like, I don't know, it's like, it's too dumb to even say like you're teaching kids to be gay or whatever. Like, all of that is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then also it invalidates families. Like, also, gay marriage is a real thing that is lawful, thank God, right? All these things, like, when someone in your kindergarten class has two moms or two dads, which they're going to have, if they're not allowed to talk about their family, then your family is wrong and bad.
Invalid.
Yeah. And my kids can talk about their family because it's a mom and a dad. but another, kid can't talk about their family because, there's two dads. It's the kids don't care. No, of all the people that the kids don't care at all. Not at all. My kids don't flinch at it. We don't over explain anything. Kids don't care.
Because if you're taught about those things, like just like, oh yeah, here's what a family could look like, it's in their mind, like that's how they view families. They don't view it just as being a
A
husband,
gay
wife,
family
children, or yeah, exactly. It's just frustrating.
I mean, and then so I feel like there's two levels of it. It's the ridiculousness of it all, which kind of, we were talking about. But then there's just the incredibly damaging part of kids in their formative years of, especially like, maybe kindergarten to third grade, you're still kind of not sure maybe where you're at or what, I mean, you're just, a kid. But what that signals is your loving family is wrong and bad and you can't talk about it at school. But everybody else can talk about their family at school, but not yours because yours is bad.
Well,
so that's so much more damaging.
Yeah. For me, it's the self-identity part, really, because the person who made the bill, Joe Harding, said that apparently kids were given out questionnaires to like fill out their name that they prefer, their pronouns, and like how they identify, and he said that that's bad if they don't disclose that information to the parents. And that really made me mad because this bill says that
does that apply to high school as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This bill can apply to anything that isn't age appropriate. So if a student doesn't go by their dead name at school, the teachers have to inform their parents.
Yeah, which is also not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I think kids look for allies in the school. They know which teachers maybe would not perhaps be so on board. So, I've had kids say, can you call me by this name? This is what I go by. I'm like, for sure. And then I've also had kids say like, but if you talk to my mom, you can't call me that, and I'm like, nope, I don't want to talk to parents anyways. But no problem.
Yeah, it happens here too. There's people at MSU who are like, when you see me with professors, like I go by my dead name, but here I go by, and then like, it's just aggravating that they think it needs to be put in law that teachers have to tell parents, like basically come out to the parents for them.
I mean, and again, I think the reality is I don't really see anybody doing that. I mean, I'm sure there's some, which is really more problematic, but I don't see any teacher really wanting to do that. But so I think what this bill does is, I don't think it actually does anything as far as like, you have to tell the parents and you have to do this. All it does is just, it's just a tactic to make people that they feel, are, I mean, whatever, what, wrong, undesirable, I mean, whatever word, just feel like you don't belong. There's something wrong with you. You don't belong. And what it is really just a reaction to the natural flow of ways society is going, that like these things are more accepted, that these things are more a part of like our life. And there's just this group of people that are like, just really want to hang on to, the good old days. I mean, I've talked about this, like, I graduated from high school, so 1999, what are we at, like 22 years ago or something? Very few people were like out when I was in high school. Like there were some, or some where you were like, all right, like I know that you are, but like it just wasn't really talked about. And again, that's not that long ago, and some people were out, but I mean, it really hit me when I was chaperoning prom one year, and there was a student who I think after they graduated was trans, came out as trans, and like senior year was sort of kind of happening, but I think just not. I think the student was even just like unsure, and so it was and at the time a female student wore like, I don't know, it was such a cool outfit. It was like a dress, but it was like a blazer. Like it was just real badass. And like it was very clear that there was some like androgyny, and Miss Left and I were like next to each other, and I was like, look how cool that is. And then I like turned and looked, and then there's two female students that were out and in a couple, and they were dancing together, and like everyone's just dancing around them. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody's doing anything. And I was like, this is amazing. And this was less than 20 years ago, right? So this was maybe like 10 years after I graduated. I was like, look at this. Like, this is crazy how much has changed in really such a short period of time, and how much everything else sort of stays the same. But I was like, look at this. This is so amazing. And now, even from then to now, I have so many more students, that are not only out, but, gender fluid. And, I've had students now graduate who are trans. I have one student who's a female to male trans, like living his best life. Like when people talk about, trans people and everything, I just think of this student and how much and how pained that student looked in my classroom, but like still, I don't know, still outgoing, still, I mean, all those things, but just like I never really saw like a true smile. And then now I follow him on social media, and it's like he's living. Mm-hmm. And all you can see is happiness. I don't know. For that student to have those feelings while in school, and then while you're trying to figure out really maybe who you really are, and you're thinking maybe I'm this, or maybe, and then have someone say, well, whatever it is that you're thinking, it's wrong and it's bad and it's dangerous and it's unnatural and it's all of this, is just, I mean, we know that, trans students have, the highest, amount of suicide. Like, I don't know. All it does is horrible things.
Yeah, like Chevron Jones, the only openly gay Florida, is he a senator? Right? Yeah.
Yes.
He said, I know what it feels like to be that young child and you're locked in your own closet because you feel like you can't express yourself. When he pretty much like gave his heart and soul out in front of everyone, and only 7 people changed their vote from being.
I mean, and the thing with all of this is it doesn't affect you at all. It doesn't affect you at all. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just hatred. I think it's I don't understand this. It is strange to me And that's fine, right? Like, that's totally fine to be like, I don't get this, I don't understand it, but you know what? Live your life, right? I mean, even if you're like, I don't really want to learn about it, but go on, live your life, fine. But it's the, I don't like this, so I hate it. And now I'm going to scare everybody else into thinking that it's dangerous.
We have some power and we are going to use it towards
Yeah.
negativity.
Yeah. I don't understand ever caring so much about something that literally doesn't affect you at all.
Yeah, me neither. And then the CEO of the Trevor Project said that like getting rid of an inclusive, safe environment is going to harm the mental health of these students. Joe Harding again said that these people are leading a fear-mongerated effort and that they need to stop lying to these people. And it made me mad because he's saying like, okay, we need to get rid of these questionnaires that let kids like that ask kids what they want their name to be and like what pronouns they want to be used, but yet like, oh, we're gonna call you by your birth name and like your birth pronouns and suppress that part of you. It's just it makes me mad. It's like, even now my parents don't know that I go by she, they. They probably never will because they just don't, they won't ever see me as just being their child,
Yeah.
Like my mom, when I came out to her as a lesbian, she was like that's okay, but like you're gonna stay my daughter, right? And like she was really afraid of me changing my gender for some odd reason. Like she was okay with my sexuality changing from what she thought it was, but she wasn't okay with my gender ever changing.
And I think, like, how old's your mom?
Hold on.
Like 50s?
No, 40s.
Okay.
She's like,
that makes me feel old.
She's like 40. No, 46.
Okay.
46.
So, I mean, it's a lot. It is. It's a lot to understand for someone who, your identity matches up, with what you were assigned at birth. It's a very hard thing to fully understand someone who doesn't feel like that. And I think for parents, it's like, okay, you're a lesbian. Okay, like society's okay with that now. You know what I mean? Like, I think as a parent, it becomes, I still want to protect you from the world. And society has said we understand lesbians and like we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Trans is a level that is, and when I say fairly new, you know what I mean. I know that trans people are not fairly new, but the acceptance in society is newer. And I think it's like levels of things that people can, I don't want to say accept, because I know that your parents would accept you. It's just, I think functionally being able to wrap your brain around.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for your generation because your generation is so open to so many things, especially because when things don't interfere with your life, I mean, I think that's one of the best things about your generation. If it doesn't affect you, you guys don't care. Like, if you're like, I don't know what that is, does it affect me? Don't care, live your life. Like, that's probably the saving grace of your generation, and that beyond your mom's generation, right? Like my mom's generation, or like your grandparents' generation. It's like, I don't get this. It's too far away from something that I can conceptualize, and I just like can't hear about it. And luckily, like, that generation is leaving, right? But yeah, I mean, to be honest, as sort of, liberal and open as my husband and I are, it would be difficult to hear our kids say, I'm trans.
Yeah.
Would we, clearly, would we support them? Would we, obviously. But I would tell you, like, I think late at night, the two, like my husband and I upstairs talking, it would be like, there would be a lot of worry with that. I mean, I worry all the time about our kids, and they're totally fine, right? Nobody has any medical thing, like everyone's fine, but like, I'm always worrying about them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that worry can sometimes look like not acceptance, but what is really just clearly not acceptance is, this law. I mean, it's just, if it wasn't so damaging, it would be hilarious, because it's so dumb.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to be a person in the world, and it's so hard to be a teenager. And what keeps me like coming back to work and coming back is I want to be a person for students. And like, I can't imagine, I don't know, being a person in a school and adhering to this ridiculousness. And
because it's 2022. Like, you would think this bill would be like from an earlier time.
oh, sure. Well, what about, I don't know if you saw on my Twitter, they just passed an anti-lynching bill in 2022. Like,
yeah,
the hell are we doing?
Too, and I was
right.
like,
it's so overdue that I don't even want it applauded. Like, right? That should be embarrassing that an anti-lynching bill gets passed in 2022.
Yeah, it, like, Michelle Obama was like praising Joe Biden about it on a post, and I was like, this should have already happened, Michelle. Like,
years ago. Yeah, I mean,
it should have been a bill. It should have been something before I was even born.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this bill is terrible and awful and all of the things, and it's damaging, but I see it more, I think, in the long term, that this is a Hail Mary by a dying political group. Like, I think they're pulling out all the stops at the end. What are the last things that we can go after? They're teaching kids how to be gay in school. They're teaching kindergartners how to be gay. Like, it's just a last ditch effort to rile up the masses of people who are frankly uneducated and fearful, and just trying to get them to get to the polls. DeSantis wants to run for president. I mean, these are his people, and they'll love this, right? They love, don't indoctrinate our kids. I wish I could indoctrinate. I wish, what I would do if I could indoctrinate? Bring a pencil, do your homework, pay attention, let's learn about history. If I could indoctrinate, I would absolutely use it to teach and get kids to pass and graduate. Like, it's just such a ridiculous idea that people really think that we can indoctrinate kids, and I can't even get some kids to pass when I accept work for the entire quarter. Like, I mean, it's just people who don't know anything about anything claiming that they do, you know. I don't know. I think I mean, I don't want to, you know, say like I think this is ridiculous and I think everything's going to be fine, because I know that right now it's not fine for kids. But I do think that it is what it is, that this is just a dying breed of people who are just trying to hang on to the last things that they can scare people with.
Yeah. I agree. I think because you can, even by the way they're speaking about the bill, like the governor and Joe Harding,
Yeah,
they sound scared. Like, you can tell that they are coming up with these very like dramatic.
yeah. Well, it's propaganda, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's the age old, you know, I'm gonna, you know, protect the white babies, you know, propaganda that, you know, I teach in World War I, World War II. I mean, it's, but then when you ask a kid, you know, yeah, I have two moms. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, my kids are like, you know, do you know that some people have two moms? And I said, yeah. Oh, okay. You know, what do you think of that? I don't know. That's nice.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes my kids will say like Sally will say like, I'm sad that Evelyn doesn't have a dad. And I say, yeah, I know, but you know, Evelyn has uncles and she has her grandpa. And you know, and then I tell her, you know, because my dad died when I was 3. I mean, I know it's not the same thing, but like for her, I'm like, you know, Sally, my family didn't look like how your family looks. Like, mine was just grandma and, you know, my brothers, you know, and my grandma lived next door. And I was like, you know, and she's like, you know, I'm like, oh, my dad died, Sally. So everybody's family's going to look different. Some people have grandparents that live in their house. And they're like, huh, yeah. Can I play on my iPad now? I mean, they literally don't care.
Well, maybe that's the thing. They're afraid that it's becoming normal.
Oh, sure.
They're afraid that, like, now people are like, oh yeah, like you said, they have two moms. Like, they're afraid of that because it's been for so long that it's this group that like stays this group, and they have to like,
yeah,
they can't leave the group. But like now they're kind of merging together, and that's why.
I think it does. You're right. I think it scares them that a 5-year-old shrugs and says, oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's like, and then they're like, but no, like this is, and then
Yeah.
it's
But like, you're the one that's making it the big deal. My kid didn't
Yeah.
have any questions about anything. They just said, oh yeah, huh.
Yeah.
You know, and I was gonna say something else. Oh, oh shoot, I was gonna say something. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. It's gone. I lost it.
That's okay.
I don't remember. Oh, the idea of being, you know, a teacher, elementary school, high school. I mean, you know how much I talk about my family, like in class.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, I hope I haven't just been talking about my family and everyone's like, lady, we don't care. But like, you know, it humanizes me, right? Like, it makes me not just your teacher in class. It makes me a human person outside of class. And I think that's obviously important, which is why, you know, I make I make my life at home part of my life at school, and I make my life at school part of my life at home. And I have thought about this kids and wants to be a part of their life, wants to share their life with their students, and feels like, even take out this bill, right? Like that they can't talk about a relationship or a marriage because they're gay. Like, I just don't know how I could teach without talking about my life, because that's what kids ask on the first day. When I say, like, what questions do you have? And they're like, are you married? Like, yep, you know, my husband and I have been married, you know, do you have any kids? Like, I couldn't imagine. I don't even know what do? You just say no? I mean, now you can, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I couldn't teach in a district where I couldn't say those things, you know, if I was. But, you know, like our nanny Rachel, right? Like, she got married. She teaches first grade, third grade. They have like a countdown of her wedding day. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did too when it was my when I was teaching the year I got married, and the kids were like hype. You know, those were ninth graders, and they were like, "Oh my God, like, what do we call you when you come back?" Like, my kids were so hype. I couldn't imagine feeling like you couldn't talk about that with literally the people that you spend most of your time with, because you thought that somebody was gonna say, I don't want you talking about your gayness with my kid.
Yeah. It's interesting because looking back on high school for me, I think you were the only teacher who talked about their home life, but like, I have a closer relationship with you than any other teacher, you know? Like, and I don't know. Like, also, you were my first female teacher in
the social studies department, right?
No, in high school for me, period. Yeah. Anyways.
Really?
Yeah. I had all males. Well, no, Miss Mills. Maybe.
She's just a math robot, though.
I had Miss Mills, but that was it. The rest were male.
Oh, that's a weird experience, because usually it's not that.
I know. It was wild. It was because English. I had Mr. Wanglin and Mr. Boone and Mr. Flood.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, and like they weren't. I don't know if it's because they were male and that's why they weren't willing to like share their personal life. But like I never.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. Thinking about it.
Yeah, that's really weird. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's probably some kids that are like, lady, I don't care. You know, I mean, I'm sure there are.
But it's that type of, it's like,
I'm just being me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like,
you're telling your students what you do outside of this class, outside of the classroom. And that's what I think. Just in general, students forget that teachers have a personal life.
Yeah. I just couldn't imagine, you know, and you know, the stuff. I mean, it's not even that much about my husband, right? Like, it's about my kids. But to be like, you know, kids come back from break and they're like, what'd you do? You know, what'd you do this week, Miss J? You know, and I'll say like, oh, yeah, they're going to ask me. And I'm going to come back and say, oh, my husband and I would 12 years we've been married. Like, we went out to eat. Like, I couldn't imagine feeling like I couldn't casually say to a student, oh, my wife and I, you know, celebrated 10 years and we went out. And like, whoa. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is the kids don't care, right? Like, that's what we're talking about, is none of you would flinch. It's I don't know.
It's normal.
It's also legal.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I mean, that's the other part too, is like, some parent that says, oh, hey, like Miss J and her wife celebrated 10 years, and some parent's gonna say her what?
Yeah, and then be like, they didn't tell me. Like, it'll be
Right. Like, you liked me when you thought I was, straight, teacher. And
mhm.
now, now I mean, I just don't get it. I don't even know how to talk about this because I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
if I don't, I couldn't imagine caring if Henry and Sally had a gay teacher.
Yeah. I
Just teach her how to read. I don't know how. So you teach her how to read. I
yeah.
don't care who you kiss. Just
Yeah.
teach her how to read. And,
Yeah.
you know,
It's just it's silly. It's silly, and to really think that many Florida parents care, they don't.
no. And again, I think there's some that do. And I think there's some, because I've been on the message boards, or the comments in Facebook. Like, there's definitely some parents here that care.
Oh yeah.
And clearly there's enough, right? Because DeSantis is the governor, and people become president and other elected officials and all those things. But like, the trajectory of the country is an overwhelming amount of people don't care about this. Like Barack Obama has said, right? Like, progress is slow, and it seems slow, and it can seem frustratingly slow, but it's progress. And when you look back, you can say, look how far we've come. And that's what I think always strikes me about thinking about when I graduated from high school and thinking about now teaching in a high school. It can seem like progress is slow throughout the days, especially with bills like this. But then when I look back and I see what it was like for me in high school 2020, 22 years ago, and now, that's such a huge difference. My mom never talked to me about people being gay. And, when I was a kid, there weren't really people that, or at least, I don't know, that I knew or whatever. I mean, there were obviously, but like, my mom never had a conversation with me about, you know, gay means that two boys like each other or two girls like each other. Because it's like taboo, right? It was like a
Yeah.
thing we didn't really talk about. It happened, and it's none of our business, and it's fine. But like, my little kids are like, oh, like Uncle Brandon. We're like, yeah. And then, we make sure too, like we talked about this in women's history, right? Like my husband, the kids always get really dramatic if my husband and I will like literally peck each other on the lips, like Sally pretends to vomit
Yeah,
and
I
like
still do with my parents.
yeah. So like Sally will be like, "Bleh, bleh," and like try
Yeah.
to puke. So I said to them, I was like, wow, how I phrased it. You're somebody on the list. And and they're like, no way. And I was like, one day you are going to meet someone and you are going to want to kiss them on the lips. And I was like, later I thought, I go, oh my God, I didn't say you're gonna want to kiss a boy on the lips. Like,
Yeah.
Henry, you're gonna want. And I thought, wow, I didn't even mean to say it that way. And I just did.
Mhm.
Because I don't care. I couldn't imagine caring at all
I know.
about my kid. Like, I just want them to be happy. I want them to find love, and I don't care where it comes from. I want it to be nice. I want them to be good to my kids. I want my kids to be good to them. I want it to be healthy and lovely. And I don't care who that person is.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine caring that much about my kids, like relationships.
Yeah.
Other than I just hope it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
Creepy. It gets creepy.
yeah. I don't yeah, my mom, I asked my mom, I was like, how do you think about this? And she's like, why does it exist? And I was like, I am wondering the same thing.
What doesn't exist?
Like, she's like, why does this exist of us creating this bill? Because
Oh,
it's practically hate. It's just hate.
it's
And
legislated hate. Yeah.
yeah, because yeah. But to end the
Yes.
episode, I guess, I think their I think their goal with this bill is to try to make us afraid, and they don't want us to fight back. But yet, like, we've been doing this we've been doing this for a long time.
So does it make you feel afraid?
No, I'm just mad. Like, even if I like had kids in the future, which never see myself doing, but like, even if I did, it's like I know this bill isn't going to exist when I do,
Yeah.
and like, I even if it did, I'd be like, just I would just tell my kids, like, say it anyway.
Sure.
Like, because I feel like teachers are going to realize how like dumb the bill is too, and then at that point, like, all the teachers are just gonna like ignore it, and then
Yeah.
parents, like, sure, parents will like know, they'll know,
Sure.
they'll feel like they'll know. It's that
Did
typical.
you happen to see I retweeted it on Twitter, that parent who, let me it's not a parent, it's a teacher. Hang on, let me find it.
Oh, with the MX?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
So the
that a
teacher's
lot.
like, okay, you don't want me to discuss, sexuality, you don't want me, okay, no problem. I am not going to refer to your, what is it?
It was like, I'm gonna refer to your kids
Your
as they,
students as
them.
they or them. I will no longer use gendered title as Mr. or Mrs. Any references to my husband or wife in the classroom, I will use the non-gendered MX. All books that refer to a person being a mother, father, husband, or wife, these are gender identities that may allude to sexual orientation. So, I'm taking out any book that has any type of, you don't want me to discuss sexual orientation with your students. Okay, then mother, father, Mr., Miss, like, I love that, like, you're not smarter than teachers. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, right? Like, if you don't want kids to be taught, any sort of sexual anything, then okay, yeah, then we'll just take it all out, and it's like, no, not like that, right?
Yeah, they want to keep, they want to, they want to be in the binary still,
Right.
and it's,
Well, and these are the same people that, ask a kindergartner if they have a girlfriend.
you're right. Oh my god.
I mean, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. You don't want sexuality out of it. You want homosexuality out of it. You want, I mean, I am much more offended by asking or talking about my children in terms of like how, like, boy, you're gonna be a real lady killer, or oh, Henry's gonna have to really fight kids, Sally's so pretty. Like, that is creepy. That's creepy.
Yeah.
I'll legislate, don't
Exactly.
ask kids about their girlfriends when I mean,
Yeah.
it's
That's,
just so,
yeah,
I mean,
thinking
we've
about
spent so
that,
much
like, my
time.
parents say that to my brother all the time. That like he's gonna swoon all the ladies and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and it's like,
Just, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd second a bill that don't be creepy about kids and girlfriends and boyfriends. I mean, that is so much more damaging and weird than, I got two moms. All right, sweet.
yeah, yeah, because it's, yeah, it's just it's bad. I that yeah. Oh my god, that.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I mean, you're also older and out of high school and everything, but I'm really happy to hear that this bill doesn't make you afraid, that you see the ridiculousness of it and will fight it
Yeah,
and not hide. You know, I mean, that's very comforting to hear that it doesn't scare you. You froze a
yeah,
little bit. There we go.
yeah. Sorry, internet here is rough, but
No, that's all right.
yeah, and I don't know. I don't know, cause yeah, I I can't understand the mindset of a young child with this bill,
Yeah.
and like, cause like I have another quote from two dads, Dan and Brent Van Tice, and they said, "Already our children have told us that they are afraid that they will not be able to talk about their families at school." Because I saw this article where a company is, or like the family, the Florida like union, education union or something is
Yeah.
suing for the bill, and it's like, yeah, it's a bad bill.
I mean, can you, if you've spent any time in like a kindergarten classroom or first grade classroom, there's no way to stop kids from talking and sharing and oversharing. Like, there's no way that a kid's gonna, I don't know, or maybe it will make them feel like they can't talk about their families, but boy, that's really depressing.
Yeah, it's just sad. So, okay. Well, I think it's time to end the
Okay.
recording.
Well, it was good to see you.